Assalamualaikum and good evening to Doctor and everyone. I'm ARYSSA HANI binti Muhammad Asad, nama metrik BC254994. Me and Adam would like to present about a case of illegal e-waste and corruption, specifically focusing on the recent MACC operation code named Operation X. We'll be analyzing how corporate greed combined with corruption led to severe environmental injustice and what ethical frameworks were ultimately failed. What is the issue? The core problem is systemic corruption that facilitates the unlawful processing and disposal of hazardous electrical and electronic waste or e-waste. The Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission (MACC) arrested 16 individuals. Critically, this group included both company owners and corrupt trade officers, highlighting a failure at both the corporate and regulatory levels. The suspects were detained for bribing enforcement officers to protect their illegal operations. These activities involve dumping or improperly processing hazardous materials like fiberglass, plastics, and metal. The raids targeted 12 factories across the states of Selangor and Johor, a major industrial hub. Why they do this thing? The motivation was simple: to bypass the strict and costly environmental regulations required for legal e-waste disposal, thereby maximizing their illegal profits. This is a clear case where unethical cost-cutting directly leads to environmental crime. Moving to the core drivers, we see two sides of the same corrupt coin. On one side, profit over ethics and systemic failure. The company owners made a conscious choice to prioritize short-term financial gain over their fundamental ethical and legal duty to dispose of waste safely. Systemic failure. The trade officers involved willingly facilitated the violation of application conditions, demonstrating a dangerous breakdown in the regulatory oversight system. On the other side, we have the ethical link. Ethical misconduct. Bribery is a direct act of corruption, undermining the very principles of fair competition and rule of law. Environmental injustice. This is perhaps the most serious consequences. Illegal dumping creates severe environmental hazards, polluting the air and water, and unfairly shifts the burden of this toxic waste onto surrounding communities. This is a clear violation of environmental equity. The entire case revolves around critical ethical dilemmas faced by the individuals involved. The officers' dilemma. This was a conflict between personal gain versus professional integrity. The enforcement officers chose the short-term personal benefit of a bribe over their core duty to uphold the law, protect the public, and maintain integrity in their profession. They felt their stakeholders and the public, also the environment. The owner's dilemma was a failure of corporate social responsibility. The choice was profit maximization versus environmental stewardship. The owners abandoned their role as stewards of the environment, choosing to exploit systemic weaknesses for illegal cost-cutting, thereby demonstrating a profound ethical failure in corporate leadership. This decision collectively result in a massive failure of justice, where the system was corrupted and the burden of harm was unfairly distributed. To fully analyze moral magnitude of this failure, we can apply three ethical theories. Utilitarianism. The massive harm to public health and the environment far outweighs the financial benefits gained by a few corrupt individuals. Rights theory violates the fundamental public right to a safe, clean, and sustainable environment. Justice theory unfairly distributes the burden of pollution onto vulnerable populations while perpetrators reap unjust rewards.
Now, let's look at the official response to what MECC called Operation X. The operation began with a 3-month covert intelligence gathering phase. During this time, officers monitored suspicious movements, tracked financial transactions, and identified the key players behind the illegal e-waste network. Once the investigation was complete, MECC launched coordinated raids on 12 factories across 2 states. These raids were carried out simultaneously to prevent anyone from escaping or destroying evidence. As a result, 16 suspects were arrested, including factory owners, middlemen, and even enforcement officers who were believed to have accepted bribes. After the arrest, MECC initiated prosecution under Section 16BA of the MECC Act 2009, which deals with bribery and abuse of power. This shows that the authorities took firm legal action to dismantle both the illegal operations and the corruption behind them. Based on the Operation X, there have been multiple impacts. First, a total of 12 illegal factories were raided, immediately stopping the ongoing environmental harm they were causing. Second, the arrest of 16 individuals sends a strong message that corruption will not be ignored, regardless of whether the offenders are business owners or government officers. It is also shown that 3.8 billion ringgit in prior seizures. This figure gives context of how large and profitable illegal waste operations can be and why enforcement need to be strong. Overall, the operation was ethical, fair, and effective in halting immediate damage to the environment and restoring some level of public trust. Moving on to our actions. For our first proposed action, we focus on creating stronger deterrence through what we call the triple penalty framework. The first penalty is mandatory jail time. Officers who accept bribes should no longer be given the option of paying fines. Actual prison sentences creates a stronger warning against misconduct. Second, we propose a 300% asset seizure rule. Any profits earned from the illegal e-waste activities should be confiscated at 3 times the amount. This ensures that engaging in corruption becomes financially pointless. And third, a 10-year director ban for company owners who are convicted. This prevents repeat offenders from simply opening a new company under a different name. Together, these 3 measures greatly increase the cost of committing corruption and strengthen the overall enforcement system. Our second proposed action focuses on long-term systematic reform to prevent future abuses. First, we suggest digital tracking using cradle-to-grave blockchain systems to trace the movement of industrial e-waste. This makes it difficult for illegal operators to divert waste into unauthorized facilities. Next, we propose establishing a remediation fund. Companies involved in industrial waste should contribute a pool of resources used for environmental cleanup and health screenings in affected communities. This ensures that polluters carry responsibility for the harm they cause. Lastly, public auditing. By making waste handling data publicly available, companies become more accountable and the public can monitor whether environmental claims match actual performance. These reforms aim to build transparency, strengthen public oversight, and reduce opportunities for corruption. To conclude, this case clearly shows that ethics is not optional. Corruption in environmental management is not a victimless crime. It damages our land, harms communities, and compromises the future for the next generation. Operation X was a strong first step, but long-term integrity requires accountability, transparency, and sustainability across the entire system. By combining enforcement with reform, Malaysia can create a cleaner, safer, and more ethical environment for all.